Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Wednesday, June 28th, 2023 by Gaia Blooming. I am Mimi and our energy mantra for today is I pay attention to my EQ. So our EQ, opposed to our IQ, is our emotional intelligence. And just going back to the beginning of Sun in Cancer, that was kind of the focus, is bringing our consciousness to our emotions and where they're at, what they're trying to show us about ourselves, about where we're at with things, and even where we can break the dam when it comes to them. So today's astro is interesting. As always, I'm actually going to look at the cards because I pulled a bunch of emotional cards, or not emotional, mental. All of these have some kind of mental connotation. And the control card's in reverse, the schizophrenia card is upright, morality is reversed. It's the control of the morality, or the king and queen of swords. Schizophrenia is the two of swords. We're like trying to make decisions and we're feeling a little out of control. And then we have the nothingness card, which is a 5. 5 is mental. This is the Hierophant. It's spiritual law, but it feels like we've got some moral dilemmas, even if it's like whether it's moral out there versus your morals. And this is starting to make a little sense to me. As I looked at them, and I was like, what? What? We have the moon moving into Scorpio. Now, like I mentioned, we will have the moon and Pluto square early in the morning, 1:19 a.m. I mentioned that in yesterday's scope. So we may feel, if you're watching this Wednesday evening, you may feel some energy amplifying into that square. Some fears come up, some challenging energies come up, and that's kind of taking us into this Scorpio moon, which will connect to the nodes. And the Scorpio moon is going to amplify the south node. It's also going to be pulling on that north node energy. And over the next few weeks, like I mentioned, we really want to be leaning into that north node energy. So the north node in Taurus brings to light our values. And our values and morals can usually be mushed together if we are in alignment, right? Sometimes they may be a little askew. Might be something to look at. But it seems like we're having some challenges. So it might be about aligning with your morals and values in the world the way it is right now, which can be a challenge because people will say do this and you want to be a good person and do something, but it also feels wrong to you, right? There's a lot of really interesting things that are up right now. So we may feel that little push, pull, tug. I think there's lots of stories in the world where, doing what the rules say to do doesn't truly go with our soul morals, right? I think it's worth looking into. It's worth looking at. It's worth exploring within yourself. And I really listen to my feelings when it comes to things like this. If I'm going to do something and I don't feel good about it, I cannot do it. I have to have my feelings in alignment with what I'm doing, with what actions I'm taking. And when I don't, I feel that pit, it never feels good. Now, this is also interesting because, like I said, Lilith's been making this bridge between Mars and Venus, occupying that heart energy. And Lilith today is with Venus. And so the yin energy is standing very strong. And Lilith is like, you gotta do right by you. You gotta do right by your values. Venus representing values. And so again, there may be some push and pull. You may come up against the fears of living in a world where you break the mold, where you don't fit into the cookie cutter. That has definitely been my world. And I think a lot of us have that in different areas. And it can be really scary to try to break the mold, because when you do, a lot of people like to tell you how you're doing it wrong. So, Moon in Scorpio, hidden fears may not be so hidden. They may come up, they may be in our face as it aligns with the South Node. This is the last pass of the Moon and the South Node before the South Node shifts. Well, the nodes shift, but the South Node moves into Libra. That'll be the next connection with the South Node and the Moon. So, Moon will also be connecting to Mercury. You may be called to speak your truth. That may be where the challenge is like, I'm okay living it here, but I don't know if I'm ready to express it out there, because that just takes it to a whole other layer, right? So we have that connection going on. I also feel like there's a lot of intuition going on, and that could be part of these mental cards as well, with the Hierophant or the Nothingness card, is sorting through all of these thoughts, feelings, energies, imprints that are coming through. Is this my intuition? Is this just my mind creating stories? Being able to work through those can always be a very interesting experience. I will say that intuition often feels peaceful, even if it's relaying an intense message, unless it's urgent in that moment, which that's where it gets a little confusing. But usually there's a peacefulness about it, and just a quiet knowing, versus the mind, which is like, alert, alert, alert. Sun and the Moon connecting. Sun in Cancer, Moon in Scorpio. Like I said, deep, intuitive feels today. And that might be part of all these mental cards as well, is just going through the motions of feeling the feels and trying to figure out what the feeling of the feels actually means. Sit down, let it open up to you instead of you searching to find the answer. Sometimes we just need to let it wash over us like a cooling wave. Moon connecting to Saturn. Saturn in Pisces. This is where the last card feels like it comes in. The Miser card. Something old. We've been hanging on to something old, and it is up. There's something old. It's not like something blue. It's not something you want to wear to your wedding. This is something that we're wanting to like release. Between the South Node and Scorpio energy and the Saturn retrograde, Neptune about to go retrograde, that's the feeling. A lot of this stuff that's coming up, that's processing, it is old. It is time to let it go. It is time to not hold on to it anymore. That again could be part of this, where is it? Schizophrenic card. That holding on to something, even though we want to let it go, we want to move on. I kind of feel that way with something right now that I'm very like, oh, I feel connected to this thing, but another part of me is like, and it's coming time to let this go. I'm not trying to be cryptic. I just, don't worry. It's not bad, but trying to let something go and something new come into its place, but I'm still holding on. So I'm in that place with you. I'm in this place of like, not yet, but I'm preparing to dive in full-hearted. So, Moon opposing Jupiter. Jupiter in Taurus. There we have it. Are we going to lean into the fears, those subconscious fears, or can we keep trusting in the path that's opening up ahead of us, that it is abundant, that it's prosperous, that it's filled with good things? Can we trust that? I'm trying. I am trying. Finally, Sun and Saturn. Oof, that's a little bit of a heaviness for the day. You may find the heaviness presiding as we build to that conjunction in the evening, or not conjunction, trine, connection is a better word, in the evening. Saturn is heavy. Again, there may be some heaviness that you're still holding on to, that you're being called to release. Let the waves wash over you. You don't have to figure it all out. Let the waves of relief wash over you. It will happen. Sit, be. That will support that EQ energy, which I think ultimately supports our IQ as well. So, Whew, what interesting energies. I will mention that Venus is building to a trine with Chiron early on Thursday, healing energy for our inner yin. I love this, but make it fiery, and that yin may have something to say. So just be aware of that energy incoming. So I'm going to leave that here for today. You can book a reading. Still working on those Venus readings. Came to me last night what I wanted to do, and now I'm like, gotta let it wash over me again because I fell asleep. But besides that, the better it gets, the better it gets. There's more than enough love in the world for you. You have the power, and honor your values. Namaste.